Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the 2016 NASA Eastern States Championships presented by Toyo Tires. We are opening our first race of the day, which will be our Spec Miata race. Great competition all through the weekend there. We have some special guests to talk to you a little bit about all the wonder that is Spec Miata. I have Dean Case right here with me, community manager from Mazda Motorsports. Dean, it's an amazing amount of support that Mazda gives to these racers.
Well, they are the car geeks in their community. They're helping us solve cars. They're the ones who, you don't know anything about cars. You see the guy down the street with the garage open working on a Spec Miata. You go down and ask him what car to buy. They influence sales. That's what it's about for us. But we love racing. I was fortunate enough 30 years ago to work on the original Miata as an engineer. We knew it would be raced, but none of us dreamed it would end up as the dominant player in grassroots racing almost 3 decades later.
And that's true. There are more Mazdas raced on any given weekend than any other brand in the U.S. And tell me about some of the opportunities that exist for drivers who choose to race a Mazda.
Well, I think you'll find that we pay more contingency prize money than anybody else. We've got more opportunities. Thanks to the Mazda Road to 24 and the Mazda Road to Indy, you can advance. If you win a championship with Mazda Power, you get opportunities and promotions. So there's a good chance that one of the Mazda racers today could run in the Battery Tender MX-5 Cup presented by BF Goodrich Tires in 2017. That's a $100,000 scholarship.
That's an amazing opportunity, folks. We thank Mazda for their support over the years, and thank Dean specifically and all the executives, all of our friends at Mazda, for the amazing support that they give to amateur racers, giving them a shot at the big time, and also just the daily support that these racers get from Mazda is unmatched in the industry. I also have here another important player in the Spec Miata equation and the NASA equation in general. Mark Sanzenbacher, he's the senior manager motorsports at Toyo Tires. Mark, tell me why Toyo is so heavily involved in grassroots motorsports.
At Toyo Tires, grassroots motorsports is really in our DNA. It's one of the things that we brought into this country when we first started selling tires here in the 60s. We really support the grassroots racers, the guys who are out here with their dreams of becoming a pro racer or just being a weekend guy that can take home that trophy. And it's really critical to what we do. These guys give us the feedback that we need to develop better products. Those better products turn into better street car tires. And it's really just part of our development process that we rely on heavily.
And it's amazing how generous the Toyo programs are for our racers here. You see all these amateur racers out here, they're going to walk away with some amazing opportunities thanks to Mazda and Toyo. So we, of course, thank them greatly for all that they've done for us over the years. Absolutely amazing program here. We're going to see some amazing racing. I also have Jeremy Crozet over here. He is our Business Development Director here at NASA. And Jeremy, you've been instrumental in working with folks like Mark and like Dean here. How do you put together this program? Do you think it's advantageous to race in NASA versus anywhere else?
Well, I think it's finding the guys that really understand the importance of motorsports in the grand scheme of things. And have found a way to capitalize on we do. Help to a fantastic environment for our competitors to really take advantage and help to lower the cost and the barrier of entry into road racing.
Well, folks, there you have it. It's fantastic to be a racer here at NASA with support from Mazda and Toyo. Right now, I'd like to invite Renee Riley up, and she's going to sing the national anthem for us and get our racing started. I'd ask all of you, please silence your engines and enjoy our national anthem and pay it the respect it deserves. Renee, come on up.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's twilight gleaming, whose broad stripes and
Wonderful. So
All right, ladies and gentlemen, what you just saw there was John Lindsay giving our Spec Miata intro, as well as our lovely national anthem singer. My name's Jeff Pitts, and welcome back to the 2016 NASA East Coast Championships, presented by Toyo Tires. If you look to our camera now, you can see down on our grid, we've got 43 of the nation's finest Spec Miatas lined up on the grid, ready to do battle. We are going to be going into our Spec Miata East Coast Championship race. That would be the Group B race. Should be starting momentarily. We've just given the order to start the engines. We can see the drivers getting ready on the grid there. We will begin our pace lap momentarily, but first, go over our grid for you here. In the pole position, we've got Christopher Haldeman, followed by Tyler Casera, Rally Rookie in third, Todd Burris, Trevor McCallion, Denny Stain, Preston Pardis, Andrew Von Charbonneau, Brian Henderson. In 10th place, Brian Cates, followed by Mark Gibbons, Mark Cefalo, Vaughn Duarte, Jason Canole, Zhang Li, Joseph Guinta, Spencer Patterson, George Claude Jr., Javier Calderon, Mark Drennan in 20th place, John Wexler in 21st, followed by Michael Lamina, Daniel Williams, Michael Ross, Whitfield Gregg, Jonathan Miller, Brian Tone, Stephen Jew, Jason Walsh, John Babbitt, Carter White, Lance Bergstein, Tony Sinisi, Adam Cully, Ryan Fisher, Keith Williamson, Ken Wilkinson, Scott Denowitz, Toby Linder, Sarah Hankinson, Michael Globe, Jimmy Myers, Mike Rossini, Tom Fowler, Amy Mills, and finally, Blake Clemens. That is 46 Miatas we've got out on the grid there, and they are all getting ready to run. And as you heard John mention before, you know Mazda, more Mazdas raced on any given Sunday in the U.S. than any other manufacturer, and we are very glad to have Mazda being a part of the NASA Championships this year, as they have been for several years before. And remember, these drivers are battling out here for the glory of the NASA Championship, but not only that, they are also battling for major contingency prizes from Toyo Tires and from Mazda. In fact, all of the Mazda driving season champions will be invited to the Mazda Race of Champions, which will be held later on this year. The winner of the Miata Race of Champions is going to go on to race in the Pro Spec Miata Cup. And it's just glory from there on. So folks, these guys are going to be having quite a battle coming up soon here. You know, if you watched yesterday, we saw some serious improvements from Tyler Casera. Started way back in the pack and worked his way up all the way up into the second spot. Sorry, correct myself here. He actually won yesterday. But tons of good racing out there all over the grid. Some excitement yesterday from Mark Drennan when he had a suspension failure, taking him out of the race. So he was back in 20th. He is starting in 20th. After finishing high in his race on Friday. You know, these guys have been racing all weekend, but the races so far have just been for grid order into this, which is for all the marbles, the championship race. We are going to be having 5 of these championship races today. This will be the first of 5, starting with the Spec Miata group. Later on today, we'll be doing our Group A championship. That's the GTS, the German Touring Series. And just before lunch, we'll be doing our Group D championship race. That's 944 Spec, Spec E30, Spec 3, and Spec E46. And just after lunch, about 2 p.m., we're going to get into our Group C championship race, which will be ST1 through 3, SU, American Iron Extreme, and of course, the NASA Prototype Series NP01 class. Our final championship race of the day will be around 2:55 p.m. And of course, these times are all in Eastern, as we are in Watkins, Glen, New York. The Group E Championship will be the HPD Honda Challenge, PTB through F, Camaro Mustang Challenge, and Spec Iron. So we are coming to you live today from the Mecca of North American road racing, that is Watkins Glen International Raceway from Watkins Glen, New York. Proud to be sharing a track that gets used by a lot of major racing events every year. One of the famous NASCAR road courses. In fact, the first NASCAR race held here in 1957. That was the first pro race here, only a year after the track itself was built in 1956. So a lot of history out here at Watkins Glen, and we sure are happy to be here for the NASA East Coast Championships presented by Toyo Tires. And we're going to break for just a moment here, folks, but we will come back to you as our pace lap begins. We're going to lead these Spec Miatas around with our official Mazda pace car. And we'll get straight to the action coming up momentarily, folks. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we have begun our pace lap now. Got all 46 cars leaving the grid as we speak, heading down into Turn 1. You can see there is a lot of grease sweep on the course there. That is after our unfortunate excitement from the HPD class yesterday. Had a little bit of a bump going on the front straight there. Dropped some oil. Ended up having to dump a ton of grease sweep down. And, you know, this is the first big session of the morning after that, and so there's going to be a lot of grease sweep cleaning going on out there. It's going to see a lot of dust. So you can see these guys starting to scrub the tires, get the boogers off of them there. We get our view down into the S's there. You can see all of our Spec Miata drivers getting the tires warmed up, getting them scrubbed off as they are led around by our official Mazda pace car. And just a correction, folks, want to make a clarification about something I mentioned earlier there. That apparently the Mazda Race of Champions is not happening this year. I apologize for being a misinformed announcer to you. But nonetheless, we are very happy to have Mazda as a continuing sponsor of the NASA Championship Series, as well as Toyo Tires. And there are some great contingencies to be had, as well as the Mazda Speed contingency program that they have going on. So while there's no Race of Champions, there is a great contingency program from Mazda where these guys can come out, and as long as they're running the right stickers, they can collect some pretty excellent prizes. And of course, Mazda supporting their drivers from the factory 100% in their racing efforts. And it looks like the last of our pace lap has cleared the bus stop now, as they slip out of our camera angle, off into the wild green yonder of Watkins Glen, down into the boot. When they emerge from the boot into turn 10 and through 11, we will see them come out onto the front straight. We can see our starter down there has dropped his double yellow flags, which means we could be going green this time by. Just one and done for the pace car there. Hopefully we can get a nice composed line of Miatas as they come out of the final corner and onto the front straight. And remember, folks, you can follow along with the timing live at racehero.io. You can check out our live feed there, as well as our live stream feed, nasachampionships.com. Of course, if you're hearing my voice, you're probably already watching there, but now's a great time to post on Facebook and other social media. Tell all your buddies. The racing is about to begin, and folks, this should be a good one. All right, and we can see the pace car emerging out of the boot through the woods. Starting to come into turn 10. Does appear as though the lights on the pace car are out, which means he'll be pitting this time by. We should have ourselves some green flag racing. And the pace car has pitted. You can see them coming out of turn 11. Nice and composed. We want some... There we go, green flag, green flag. We've got a race, and look at that, the first 6 cars through the starting line, nose to tail, making contact with each other there. Let's see if they can make it clean through turn 1. This is a whole lot of Miatas going through there all at once, folks. And look at that, a couple cars getting pushed out to the outside, but no major incidents so far that we can see. A whole lot of sweep dust on the front straight, though, that's for sure, as they were going down there 2, 3, 4 wide. And the action going down into the S's now, you can see that is quite the herd of Miatas, and they're still 3+ wide as they go through there. Moving to our bus stop camera now. Should be seeing our leaders going through there any moment. There they go. Ripping through the bus stop. And this is a 45-minute race, folks, so these guys do have their work cut out for them. These guys are all going as hard as they can right now, but before too long, we are probably going to see them start to spread out just a little bit there. And now joining me in the booth, John Lindsay. John, that was an excellent opening ceremony. Thank you for that.
Thanks, Jeff. Just a quick sprint back up here. Thanks again to Toyo and Mazda for all they do for Spec Miata. We are underway.
Well, John, to bring you up to speed, we're on our first lap here. The cars made it clean through the first corner, through the bus stop. We're just waiting to see them emerge from the deep in the woods out there in the boot. We'll see what we've got. We had an exciting start. Double wide. 6 cars down the front straight, nose to tail. Really incredible stuff.
And Jeff, you should have seen the concentration on those drivers' faces. I looked at the front row. Whoa. We're talking lasers burning right through the visors right there. They're ready to go.
Well, they had a nice clean start, very composed for the most part.
Here they come through the boot and through the woods. Our leaders are now coming towards the front straight. You're going to see them on your front straight cam in just a minute. Here comes our Spec Miata field into your view right now. Nice tight pack. Looks like a breakaway of about 10 cars up front. Haldeman out in front. Wow, so he gained that top position back. A couple of moves there coming down the front straight. We're watching him go through right now, leaders. And look at that. Wow, passing 3-4 wide. That's Mark Drennan right there.
Right.
And we just saw Mark Drennan make a big aggressive move, about 5 positions on 1 move.
So that's a story we've been following here, John. You know, we had Mark Drennan finish pretty far back in the pack yesterday. In fact, he was a DNF with a mechanical problem, so starting from 20th position today. Now, this is definitely noteworthy here. Mark, in 1 lap, has made it up 8 positions up into 11th place, but look right behind him, Michael Ross and Jonathan Miller, 10 positions and 11 positions. These guys are really putting in some work out here. And, you know, just like we had yesterday, I think a couple of these guys are pretty fast drivers who ended up having issues and qualifying poorly, and now they're going to do everything they can to work their way up through the pack and get that championship victory. Tyler Casera, our winner from yesterday, in 3rd place right now, dropping down 2 from his hole shot that he got. He was the pole sitter.
Looks like our top 10, we have Haldeman, then Rowley rookie. Then we've got Tyler Casera, Danny Stain, Todd Burris, Trevor McCallion, Andrew Von Charbonneau, Preston Pardis, Brian Henderson, and Brian Cates are our top 10. Drennan just outside the top 10 in position 11, coming up 8 positions, as Jeff noted. Again, waiting for the field to come through the pines here from our vantage point. Can hear a little bit of thunder. Here they come, folks. They are through the pines right now. Full speed. Boy, those top 3 cars, you can't get a slice of bologna in between them, because this is for all the jelly beans today. Going to see them come into your view in about 5 seconds. And there they are right now on your front straight view. Looks like Haldeman is still out in front. I can see those yellow stripes.
And it looks like 9 cars in that first group there, John, and after that, a pretty sizable gap from Preston Pardis to Brian Cates. But look at that, Mark Drennan in 10th place now, working his way up the pack, although he will have that big gap to jump as soon as he gets out of 10th place.
And folks, you could see all of these cars, how close together, how much racing is going on throughout the entire field. Cars nose to tail all the way from 1 to 43. Amazing racing all the way through the field. But remember again that Dean Case was talking about the opportunity that's on the line here. A shot at going to the battery tender MX-5 Pro Series, and a value overall, and also a lot of money from Toyo that could really, almost pay for your whole season if you take home the big win here, because these cars are so affordable to run. Leaders now working their way back through what's called the boot here at Watkins Glen. The long course this weekend, 3.4 miles. Lots of elevation changes here and banking, and also the big blue monsters lurking right off the track there. A track that rewards precision and punishes errors ruthlessly.
It certainly does, John. It certainly does. That arm code does not play games out here. We mentioned right before the race started about the large amount of grease sweep that was on the front straight, and we saw a lot of smoke in the air. Well, not smoke, but dust from that grease sweep. That is starting to clean its way up, and something I noticed out there, these guys going as wide as they are. So we mentioned yesterday, this track is 36 feet wide, FIA standard. A Miata is about 5.5 feet wide, so that means you could reasonably fit 6 Miatas wide on this track without any of them touching dirt. I think we may have seen that happen a few times this weekend.
Front breakaway pack now coming through the pines. Looks like we have a breakaway pack of 6, then 2, then 1, then another pack of 2, and back to the rest of the field. But that front pack is now coming into view on your front straight cam. Haldeman still out in front from what we can see up here in the tower. Again, nobody peeking out, nose to tail, early in the race still. Not revealing any strategy, trying to improve positions, and all of them staying together. Look at that front pack working together. I think they all know that's to their communal benefit to work together and be united, to let them run away from the rest of the pack, and then later on when they have a little room they can start going mano a mano.
Right, and look at the times across the top 3. They're almost identical. 2:16.243, 2:16.247,
Wow.
and 2:16.203. We're talking about cutting it by thousands.
Now
here,
look at this,
John.
Trevor McCallion, his best lap so far is a 2:15.399.
Wow, John, I think that's the fastest Spec Miata time we've seen here all weekend, to
I
be
agree.
honest.
I agree.
I know that Tyler Casera was down in the very low 2:16s yesterday, and we were plenty amazed by that. So 2:15, my goodness, that is a blazing speed.
That is hauling the mail for sure. That is stepping it up to get it done. Trevor McCallion, one to watch right now, running P5, following that battle, that front breakaway pack of about 6 cars, looking at the intervals. Very impressive racing thus far today.
And as they came down the front straight this last time, we saw Casera giving Haldeman a little bump draft there as they went down. Casera, we saw he had amazing speed yesterday. We were just talking about his lap times. I mean, he's just incredibly fast guy. And so definitely he is looking at him to be hungry for the championship today. The question is, will he be able to get around Haldeman? Is he just giving him biding his time, wait until they break away from the pack? Or is Haldeman faster than him?
Well, we don't know what happened last night. We don't know if someone went out to dinner and said, hey, let's work together. Let's shake and bake here. We'll, get together and do a little Ricky Bobby and try to get out in front, and the two of us work together. And then at some certain point, someone flashes their hazard lights or hits their horn, and it is on like Donkey Kong. Here they come through the pines, our leaders now. Looks like that top breakaway of 6 cars is starting to get the front 4 a little bit of room to the next 2. But again, that top breakaway pack, that I forgot what they call that, the peloton, they are starting to break away a bit from the main body of our racers. That top 4 coming down, looks like there's going to be an inside move. That's Casera going down the inside of Haldeman. Is he going to make it stick? I think he did.
And Danny Stain
followed him right through.
Yeah, he sure did, just trying to...
Oh, he took the
train there.
He took the train. He took the 44 train. Wow. Tyler Casera with a brave move. Danny Stain really playing some smart pool there and taking that draft right away. But very heads-up driving from Haldeman there, because he could have closed the door and caused a major incident, but instead he kept his wits about him. Really great racing thus far here in Spec Miata.
And look at this, John, now looking at the times, those top 3 have now all broken down into the 2:15s. But look, Trevor McCallion now moving up 1 into 4th place is down at the low 2:15. So 2:15.399, I believe that's still our fastest Spec Miata time. So Trevor McCallion, only a matter of time till he catches up to those guys, and maybe there's some dicing to do.
Mark Drennan's still in 10th, but he's trying to work his way up to that front pack of 6. Maybe he can work together with one of the other drivers that's kind of back there with him. The two of them work up together and get into the mix of 6.
The last time by we saw Ross bump drafting Drennan. It looked like they might have been working together, but then, of course, Drennan does have a 2.5-second gap up to 9th place with Preston Pardis, so that is going to be hard to catch up there. But Mark Drennan, the dream killer, it looks like he's got some dreams of his own this weekend. May just end up being just that. See if he can make his dreams come true, or if indeed his dreams will be the ones crushed this year.
Well, I bet Mark is sitting back there hoping for a full course yellow, because that would enable him to get rid of that gap, and all of a sudden he's right back up there and doesn't have to work as hard. But then he's got to work real hard once that full course comes down. So he's probably hoping for that. Drivers so far driving wonderfully. Let's knock on wood. Okay.
And, of course, Mark Drennan definitely noteworthy as having gained 9 positions, but look right behind him, Michael Ross, Daniel Williams, Jonathan Miller, all with 11 gains. And look at that, Ryan Fisher gaining 16 positions.
There's a reason they call him Flying Ryan, and he's 16 positions up so far. Great drive from Ryan Fisher thus far. Here comes our pack. They're through the pines. They're going to come into your view in about 3 seconds from now. We'll see if there's any changes. Here they come. Looks like Casera is still out front. Again, that breakaway pack back to the next 2.
Haldeman back into 2nd, though. Looks like he's overtaking Danny Stain.
Wow, they're close.
It looked like he thought about making a move down that front straight, but just no room to do it. And there's Drennan.
Did you see how tight McCallion was on Stain? Wow.
Ready to go.
You can see that that front pack now headed towards the S's. See them coming through in just a minute. Now they're over towards the bus stop. We're going to watch that bus stop camera to see where our front pack of 6, that gang of 6 is. Watching for them to come into our view now on the bus stop.
And Charbonneau doing a really great job keeping up the rear of that first 6, holding off a 2.5-second gap back to Todd Burris. Doing a great job there, Von Charbonneau.
Just saw him come through the bus stop. Our lead pack of 6, all clean, opening up even more of a gap now.
And John, we were just knocking on wood and noticing how composed these guys are, but really, I mean, this is, we're quite a few laps in now, and we've had no incidents so far, so, knocking on wood one more time just for good measure, but these guys have been doing some excellent racing out here, racing hard but clean. That's what we like to see, because nobody likes to end a race under yellow.
Well, and we've got a little inside information. We happened to catch up with the Director of Compliance last evening at the hotel local watering hole where we were staying. And these guys are going to go through some pretty intense inspections after the race today. He was talking about a lot of different things that are going to happen. I won't reveal any of it because I want it to be a little bit of a surprise when they get to the tech shed. But very intense inspections to make sure that any victory that's earned is earned honestly and the right way. So we have some very good inspections that are going to be happening. They'll probably be in the tech shed for a few hours. Through the pines right now, our leaders, looks like the front three are starting to pull away a bit and leave the next three in line. So we're starting to see another breakaway within the breakaway. Coming on to your view right now, you have them coming down the front straight. We're watching it, Haldeman and Cassera, very close, staying right behind them. McCallion and Charbonneau, Von Charbonneau right there as well as Raleigh Rookie.
Yeah, and Charbonneau moving up a position, passing Rookie there. Now Rookie is bringing up the rear of that first 6-car group, and now 3 seconds back to 7th place Todd Burris.
And there's a gap opening up between the front two and Danny Stain, so they must be working together a little bit to get it done. But this is going to be quite a race as we get into about the, looks like, how many minutes are we into the session right now? Looks like 14 minutes elapsed out of 40 scheduled on the clock. So we're about 30% through, maybe a quarter of the way through this race.
Yeah.
45 minutes on the clock. Actually, it's a championship race, so that's something we were talking about earlier with the fuel loading. Now you're 45 minutes under green. You better be sure you got your weights right.
Yeah, 45 minutes is a long time to be racing, John. I mean, that's a lot of laps. That is really a lot of time for things to go wrong out there. So I know these guys are going to try to get their lead in and kind of cool it down a little bit and try to make the car last and not make any mistakes. This is definitely a place where mistakes could hurt you. You could fight the whole race and get a great position and make a mistake right at the end, and that could be the end of your day. So these guys need to go fast, but also in it for the long haul. 45 minutes to win it.
And for those of you that have never raced or been under the helmet to understand the feelings there, what we are looking at here is, imagine if you put on a pair of some snow jumpers and then some boots, and then strapped a bucket to your head and poke some holes in it, and then duct tape that around and put on some heavy gloves, and then go out and do calisthenics and then sit in a sauna for 45 minutes while you're still doing jumping jacks. That's what racing in this kind of environment is like. So it's very stressful, very hard to focus. So imagine trying to do all that and still playing chess.
Well, and it is a nice cool day out there today, which will be definitely more pleasant for the drivers, but hey, still under those driver suits, it is toasty, John.
Through the pines come our leaders. Looks like that breakaway pack is now thinning out a little bit. Coming into your view in 2 seconds here on the front straight. Once again, there is Haldeman and Cassera breaking away a bit, and that front 6 is starting to thin out just a touch, and there's a big gap now back to the next positions.
Looks like Rookie went ahead and took it back from Von Charbonneau. Von Charbonneau back into 6th place now.
So let's look at intervals a little bit. We've got very close intervals, of course. Haldeman just 0.134 behind Cassera right now. Stain just 0.351 seconds back from Haldeman. McCallion right there just 0.3 back from Stain. But then back to Raleigh Rookie, it's 1.3 seconds. So that's starting to get significant. And into 7th place, there's a 2.7 second gap between Todd Burris in 7th and Von Charbonneau in 6th.
And there are some other close races going on as we go back through the pack, but the gaps are pretty significant in between those little packs there. And, just to go ahead and finish it off here, I'll give you the rest of our top 10 there. I believe we just stopped with Charbonneau, Todd Burris in 7th, Brian Henderson in 8th, Preston Pardis 9th place, and Mark Drennan currently running in 10th.
Drennan's got to be getting a little frustrated because it looks like he's running there with Pardis, and they are 3.5 seconds back from Brian Henderson. So he's got to start thinking about getting it done and making a move, something in order to get him up to that front pack of cars.
He has done relatively good work so far, though, John. His gap to Pardis was a few seconds before, and so now it looks like Drennan, with Michael Ross still close in tow, has closed that gap up to Pardis. So, again, once he passes, if he passes Preston Pardis, he's going to have his work cut out for him, and another 3.5 seconds to gain to get up to 8th place, but I think he could do it.
Just shows you that racing is unpredictable. Drennan was running well yesterday until that ball joint snapped and sent him into the beach. And that resulted in his finishing position being not so great and his starting position being not so great. So, how the winds can change.
I think the only thing that really saved him was his finishing position on Friday, which allowed him to start 20th. It certainly could have been a lot worse in a field of 46.
Through the pines, coming into your view in about 5 seconds, looks like our breakaway pack of 6 is now separated into a breakaway pack of 4 and 2, and then another 2, and then another 3. Starting to spread out a little bit. Here they come down the front straight. Boy, front 3 right together. Hooked up. Haldeman giving Cassera a nice push down the front straight. Looks like Stain thought about coming in to the inside there, but then thought better of it.
And look at this, John, the times just keep getting faster and faster here. We're down into the low 2:15s now. Cassera and Haldeman 2:15.3, exactly the same time down to the thousandths, means we're cutting it down to the 10,000th now. And also, looks like Danny Stain has taken that top title away from Trevor McCallion with a 2:15.093. That is blindingly fast out here for a Mazda Miata.
He's flying, and McCallion apparently on the last lap may have brushed the wall a little bit. So that shows you how hard Trevor McCallion is trying to stay up there in that top pack of 5 or 6 cars. So almost 20 minutes down in our 45-minute contest, nearing the halfway point of our race today. Again, this is Group B, our Spec Miata racers, racing for their national championship here at the 2016 NASA Eastern States Championships, presented, of course, by Toyo tires. All of these cars running on Toyo tires. Different chassis of Miata, but equalized with what we call weights and plates, where some weights are adjusted a little bit different. This is the weight, of course, as the car comes off the track. And also restrictor plates, which are little gadgets that get put into the intake tract in order to restrict the amount of power that the engine can make, of course, by restricting the amount of air that can come in.
Well, as you mentioned before, John, our tech requirements for these cars are very strict. You know, the days of creative rule interpretation in Spec Miata are all but gone now. We've got our tech inspectors and our race directors for Spec Miata putting a ton of pressure on these guys to make sure that their wins are clean, as you said, well-earned, well-deserved. So these guys will be going through some pretty rigorous tech inspections after the event, assuming that they win.
Leaders across the line again. Cassera still in front of Haldeman.
Looked like McCallion looking around the outside of Stain there.
He did.
Tucked it back in, though.
Ooh, and I just saw Haldeman coming out of turn 1, gave Cassera a pretty significant bump there, like, hey, buddy, get moving. They're coming. And again, these guys are all running the perfect line. They're not trying to defend or anything else right now. I think there may be kind of a collective, Borg hive mindset between everybody right now. Hey, let's run the perfect lines. Let's try to get a little distance. And I think as we get into the end stages, we'll start seeing some more deviations from line and little jinks here and there trying to get position.
Well, you know, when you get out in first place, it's easy to get complacent and forget what you're doing out there. So, you know, Haldeman, I know a lot of drivers who actually enjoy running in second place until the last minute when they can pounce. You know, you see a lot of pro racers do that. And so Haldeman could just be biding his time back there. We've seen him bump draft Cassera several times, so we know he's got the speed there. Just a matter of getting that perfect run out of the final corner or out onto another one of the straightaways so we can get around Cassera. Just a matter of when he decides the right moment to do that is. Obviously, he wants to get around him, but he wants to get around him without enough time for him to get back around him.
Very true. Looks like we have a car retiring with a wobbly rear wheel. Ah, that's my friend Tony Sinise. That's a bummer. Tony is a longtime Northeast guy that I've known for many years. He actually flipped his car at the Mid-Ohio Nationals in 2006 right on the front straight. Very impressive the manner he did it. He did a full gainer right onto the full straight, onto the front straight at Mid-Ohio. But it looks like Tony's retired with a wheel that has come loose. Tony's recently moved over to NorCal, so he's going to be joining us. He's going to be NorCal homeboy again.
All right.
All right, folks, we are watching for our leaders to come through the pines. Looks like that front breakaway now of 4 cars is coming through. Looks like Cassera may have pulled a little bit of a gap now. See how they come onto the straight right now. Boy, they are going for it now. I think all of a sudden the curtain has been pulled back. We'll see how they come down here. Oh, Cassera's pulling out, and Stain is challenging. McCallion challenging Stain. Is he going to pull out, try an inside move? No, they're hanging tough, man. They are hanging tough and all together, working like a team. Look at those guys. That, folks, is precision driving right there. But then, you know, it seems Cassera's losing a little speed on the exit of 1, and Haldeman gives him a little whack every time.
He does. Well, you know, in a Miata like that, there's such momentum cars that, you know, sometimes it's tough to make the decision whether to use that momentum to go around the guy or to just give him a little bump, and you do see them giving a lot of bumps out here.
Well, and that's a credit to how stable the chassis is, because, you know, a lot of cars, you even breathe at them funny and they're sideways.
We saw what happened in the Honda race yesterday.
Well, you know. As someone who grew up driving Mustangs with what we fondly called the quadrubind rear end, you have to be careful. But these are very, very stable chassis, very easy to drive. Not easy to drive super fast on the edge like these folks are doing, but a Miata is a great choice. There's kind of a joke that the answer is always Miata. And there's a reason why that is, because they're affordable, they're fun to drive, and there's so many programs available and so many opportunities through Mazda. Totally makes sense to drive one of these.
Absolutely. And, you know, like you said, durable. They really can take a beating out there.
Right now, 25 minutes almost elapsed, 20 minutes remaining in our 45-minute contest. Again, we're here at Watkins Glen International in Watkins Glen, New York, upstate New York, in the beautiful Finger Lakes region, just south of the Great Lakes. Lovely area of the country, beautiful facility here. If you get a chance, you definitely should come visit Watkins Glen and the surrounding area. Looks like our top 4 now coming through the pines. Going to be on your view now in about 5 seconds under that Verizon bridge. We'll see if anything has changed up. Looks like Casera still out in front. We'll watch for any inside moves, maybe starting to test a little bit. See if they can find their tells, if they're holding aces or if they're holding a handful of garbage. Nice inside pass right there. Little bit of movement in the pack. Top 4 still staying solid. Staying still with the best lap time of that 215.093, so that's the best lap time so far of the race, and I think of the weekend.
I think you're right, John. You know, interesting thing going on down the pack. Now I want to revisit our battle down here. We got Mark Drennan, Michael Ross, Daniel Williams, Jonathan Miller, Ryan Fisher, and also Stephen Zhu. That would be covering 10th to 15th place. These guys have made such a massive improvement over this course of this race. Mark Drennan up 9 places, Ross, Williams, and Miller up 11 places, Fisher, as we mentioned before, up 16 places, and now also Stephen Zhu up 11 places. Now Stephen, I actually had a chance to talk to on Friday. Stephen was one of the guys who was sort of unfortunately wrapped up in one of the incidents we had on Friday in the Spec Miata group. And so he's one of those guys who, you know, a real fast driver, but he got stuck back towards the end of the pack and was not able to really improve himself that much yesterday in his qualifying race. So here he is out here now, starting from what looks like it would have been 22nd. And now all the way up into 15th place, so an excellent effort from Stephen Zhu. But some big gaps going on back there. Ryan Fisher, you know, we were mentioning earlier, is on a tear out there, up 16 places, but running a 2:17.153, and with a 5-second gap to 13th place Jonathan Miller. I just don't know, John, if he's going to be able to improve that position.
Hard to do. We are getting towards the middle of the race, towards the end point. Watching for our leaders to come through the boot and through the pines. Here they are right now, coming through the pines on your screen in about 10 seconds from now. Oh boy, those top 4 have really put some distance on the rest. And it looks like that's still Casera and Haldeman out front. They are really starting to pull. Coming down the front straight. Oh yeah, Casera and Haldeman are starting to put at least 2 seconds of distance there. Very nice driving.
And another bump
Big
from
gap.
Haldeman, you know, I mean, it looks like he consistently has a couple miles an hour on Casera as they come down the front straight. And as you mentioned before, you know, out of turn 1 also, always giving Casera that little tap there. So I think it's just a matter of time before we see Haldeman pull out, and instead of giving him a little bump, just going right around him, we might have ourselves some Dyson going on.
So Jeff, the gap between 4th and 5th place now is expanded to 5.3 seconds. That's significant. That's very significant.
Yeah, in 5th place, Rookie kind of running out there all on his own because Von Charbonneau another 2 seconds behind him. So Rookie just sort of out there, just trying to stay where he is. I'm sure 5th place is not a terrible finishing position. I'm sure he'd be happy to hang on to that. He's just got to stick it out another 15 minutes.
Well, all of the top, 6 cars, they're all dipping down in the 215s. And that is blazingly fast around here in a Miata. Let's see if we can find who our hardest charger is. I think it's still flying Ryan Fisher there.
I think you're right, John. I mean, nobody else. We've got a couple other ones. Look, in 32nd, Mike Rossini up 8 positions. Lance Bergstein up 7 positions. Toby Linder in 24th up 11 positions. So some serious improvements from a lot of drivers out here, but nobody touching that 16th-place improvement by Ryan Fisher.
Man on a mission right there.
I think Flying Ryan is an appropriate nickname for that gentleman there.
I agree. Should get a tattoo, right? Looking good here, waiting for our leaders to boot, as we call it, and then come through the pines. Looks like this might be our boys right here. On your screen in about 10 seconds from now. Ooh, Casera's starting to open a little. Is that Casera or Haldeman? Can't see from my vantage point right now. Casera starting to open up a gap. Wow. Nicely played.
Look at that. No bump draft this time down
No.
the straightaway. But if you look, Stain, it looks like McCallion has passed Stain.
Oh, he
again.
did.
They are going back and forth several times now this race. But
Big
Danny
as
Stain-
Dallas.
See, Danny Stain giving him a bump, though. Not happy with that whatsoever.
Wow. I think Casera may have been holding back a little bit. Look at that. Casera just set the fast lap of the race.
Oh,
2:15.078. Will he break into the 2:14s?
0.78. I mean, that is just unbelievable.
He just turned on his personal NOS, right?
He really did, yeah.
His own personal, well, these are Mazdas, but there's always the concept of VTEC just kicked in, right? So that was impressive. All of a sudden they came back. You know, Casera and Haldeman had been right together the whole race, and then Casera had about probably about a car length and a half, which is significant.
Absolutely is, especially after we've seen him bump drafting almost every lap down the front straight there. You know, it's kind of like you mentioned yesterday, John, about sort of cheating the tells a little bit. You know, maybe Casera's trying to give him some false tells.
Drivers are pushing. We just had a spin and continue and smack the wall and then straight ahead.
Just another testament to the durability of the Mazda Miata. Can take a smack to a wall and keep going.
Tough cars, these Mazda Miatas of all generations.
And you know, it looks like that must have been one of the top 10 drivers there, because if we look at our big pack of major improvers, they have all gone up one position. 10 for Drennan, 12 for Ross through Miller, and 17 now for Fisher.
Just over 30 minutes a lap, so we are getting into the final laps now of our contest. I would guess about 5 laps remaining until we get to the end of our first championship race.
Well, and it is not over yet. Almost anything can happen out here. We've got our front drivers pulling a considerable gap from everybody else, but there they go. Speaking of which, through the straightaway, through the start-finish line, and a major gap now between Casera and Haldeman, up to 0.7 seconds. I think that's the biggest gap we've seen between the two of them so far this race.
Now, here's something to note, Jeff. They're catching the back of the pack, and we know that's going to result in all kinds of craziness, because if you're good, you know, you have a driver that maybe is driving a little bit slower, and if you are able to do it correctly, you can set a pick there, get by them, and the driver behind you can't and has to wait just a breath longer, and boom, you're completely out there. Boom, you drive away.
That's right. You know, it can go all kinds of ways, though, John. I mean, it could be beneficial to the driver, the rear driver. It could be beneficial to the front driver. You know, it just matters who has trouble getting around the guy. If the front guy can get around him cleanly, like you said, he could be put in a position to basically block that second driver. Also can work the other way around. You know, with that 0.7 second gap, Haldeman could catch it right up if Casera gets stuck behind a lap driver.
Very true.
And you know, with Casera running that insanely fast lap time now, 2:15.078, that's going to be hard to maintain as he starts to go through lap traffic.
Waiting for our leaders to come through the boot and through the pines once again. Looks like we have another driver retiring. Looks like that's Jason Walsh coming off. He has sustained a little bit of damage and is now coming off and retiring from the race. Looks like we may have a car into the wall just past turn 1. Waiting to hear what might get it go on, but boy, oh boy, here could be that double yellow flag, and then we're going to have a sprint to the finish.
Well, let's just hope that the safety officials consider him to be far enough off the track, although he is fairly close there, John. We can see him just on the outside of turn 1, and you know a lot of guys are going off there, so that is a bit of an impact zone.
Yeah, he's not in a good place. I imagine it was a pretty stout impact. I imagine we may see a double yellow come out here.
Oh, and it looks like there we've got... Looks like we just had McCallion make a move on Stain. Is he going to make it? And this is as they're going through that corner.
But that's
and look at
no.
that.
But that's not going to stick.
Yeah, that was McCallion going.
No, because he passed in a yellow sector.
You're right. You're right.
So that, I mean, he may have got the pass done, but that's going to result in some paper and a visit from the race director.
It's true, you know, and also, I mean, he did go off course just a little bit to the driver's left of that berm there, which
Not
is surely
cool.
scary. That is
Not cool.
a scary thing to have happen there.
I mean, in the yellow flag zone, what can you not do?
That's passing.
Pass.
That's the one thing.
Right. So he may have gained a position, but wow. Yellow flag has been withdrawn at start-finish.
Well, I guess they've decided he's in a safe place. I mean, you know, the way these corner workers usually work is they you know, let all the drivers pass the car when they're displaying the flag, but when there's a serious race like this going on, you know, they pull that flag once all the drivers have seen it and let them keep racing. Now, John, I just want to give some props where props are due here. You know, there's been a battle I've been watching for almost this whole race. It's way back towards the end. 34th and 35th place, Michael Globe and Sarah Hankinson. But you know what? Those two have been nose to tail this whole race. I've seen them swap their positions a couple of times. Really some excellent racing, both some clean little Miatas. So great to see good battles going on all the way back to the pack.
And we're seeing the double yellow come out so they can go tend to that driver who did have a little bit of an impact there in turn 1. So we are going to see the pace car come out with, gosh, under 10 minutes remaining. So this is going to be a very interesting development here.
Yeah, this is really going to come down to the wire, John. I mean, if anything, with only 10 minutes left, we may only get 1 or 2 green laps between now and the checkered flag. In fact, you know, just like we said yesterday, this could be a situation where we end under double yellow, although we'd rather not. You know, it's too bad if we sort of set the positions where they're at now and call it good. I'd like to see a little bit more racing here.
It's true. I mean, they've slowed down now. And now all of those gaps that Cassera and Haldeman and all of and Stain and McCallion were working on, guess what? They all just went poof.
They are indeed gone.
They are gone.
Daniel Willems in 11th place with a 9.5 second gap.
All gone.
Gone.
All gone.
And look at that, Mark Drennan up to 8th place now.
Well, and all of a sudden, someone's rubbing their hands in the cockpit. That couldn't have worked out better for that top pack of 10. Now all of those gaps are gone. Their heads are warmed up. Their cars are warmed up. They're ready to rock and roll.
You know what else, John? In addition to all the gaps being gone, this is also going to remove our leaders from our lap drivers. So they are going to have an opportunity to get out there and turn some fast laps before they run into those lap drivers again.
Well, folks, we are still waiting. Looks like the safety truck has dispatched. Field is under the control of the pace car, double yellow. This is going to bunch the field back up. We are at 38 minutes elapsed. Again, when they're under yellow, the lap times go from 2 minutes and change all the way down to 5 or 6 minutes, so we may only get one more green lap.
I saw the white flag down there for a moment, John, but I realized that was not a waving white. I thought they might have been signifying the last lap, but instead they are signifying that there's a safety vehicle out there. You can see we've got our safety crew and medical crew out there responding to the driver, making sure he's okay. Get his car peeled off the wall, hopefully as soon as possible. Sneak in a couple of green flag laps before this race is over. You can see they really are sending the troops out there. Got the rollback and the lift back.
Well, unfortunately, we may be ending this race under double yellow. I know the crews are working as quickly as they can to make sure the driver out there is okay and try to get everything cleared.
Well, you know, it is less exciting than it would be to end the race under green, but, you know, as we've mentioned before, the driver's safety out there is our absolute priority here at NASA, so we're definitely taking priority to respond to them first. And if that's how the race has got to end, then so be it. But sure would be nice to get a couple more green laps. But don't worry, folks. If you're out there in the internet land watching, we do have lots of excellent racing coming up for the rest of the day. This is only the first of our 5 championship races for the day. Next up around 11 a.m. we're going to have our Group A championship race, and that'll be the GTS classes. A very exciting group with the German Touring Series.
Well, way to go to the safety crew there. They already have the driver out of the car, and they are getting that car back up on the flatbed right now, so that's a very nice quick response. Real pros out there on the safety team today. Looks like the pace car is coming through now down to the straight, so they're going to take one more lap under double yellow, but with as quick as these folks are working, I think we might get, let's see, we were at 40 minutes. I bet you we get one and done.
We could. You know, just like you said yesterday, you called it accurately, John, when you said we were going to go green, then white, then checker. That would be a fine way to end this race.
I'm thinking it's one and done, but here's the thing. They've been going for quite a while, and let's say they extend a little bit of time.
Yeah, what is that going to do for people's fuel loads? And
are you going to run out of gas?
That's right.
I mean, this is starting to look like F1, where, you know, the fuel load is so critical. So you're hoping that you guessed right.
Well, you know, when you run for 45 minutes straight with less than a second gap from the first place to the second place car, John, it does come down to that kind of technology and finite adjustments. You know, you mentioned earlier just about how strenuous it is inside the car for these drivers, and you know, another thing that goes along with that is the dehydration factor. You lose a lot of water through sweat as a race car driver.
Very true.
Under that driver's suit, and so you know, the cars run out of fuel, and so do the drivers. They get thirsty out there. I've seen a lot of guys with the drink systems and stuff, but again, the cooler weather today will help with that, but it won't cancel it out entirely.
Oh, wow, that is a great job by the safety crew. Flatbed and fire rescue are leaving the scene right now, so I think it's going to be one and done.
Well, we're still just ticking up to 42 minutes now, so 3 minutes left technically in this race. Let's see how this goes.
Well, let's see, 42 minutes elapsed, so I'm kind of thinking green checker. Not green-white checker, but green checker, because green-white checker, do you run out of gas?
That would be about 6 more minutes, and that would put us to 48 minutes.
That's a big load.
3 minutes, that's 1 extra lap.
Because
that's what, 2.5 extra miles there. So.
Well, none of these, but 2.5 extra miles flat out.
That's right. You know, remember, folks, Mazda Miata is a great economy car on the street, getting 30 plus miles to the gallon, but on the racetrack, they certainly do not, as do all the other cars. If you drive your car on the racetrack, your gas mileage goes straight down. So these guys are probably getting something under 10 miles to the gallon. So 3.4 miles, I believe this track is. That could be, you know, most of a gallon. And if you've got your fuel load calculated tightly enough, that could be enough to put you over the edge.
Very true, very true. We are watching to see if we are going to go green this time by, listening to all of the different channels that are out there, NASA control frequency and our officials. Listening to the pace car right now, watching for a lights out command. Field is not yet through the pines. We'll take a look at the condition of that pace car as they come around, but geez, we're 43 minutes, so I think we're one and done. That's going to be a heck of a one. That's like all of a sudden, you know, basically taking guys that, you know, that enjoy food like me, big dudes, taking about 10 of us and throwing a burrito in the middle and seeing who gets it.
Well, I think you're right. I think that is how it's going to go, John, because I can be a little bit sneaky here and look down into the starter stand, and I can see that the starter does not have the checkered in his hand. So unless he's going to quick draw that thing, I imagine we're just going to go green this time by, and then, like you said, John, probably straight into that checkered.
Now, what's your bet? Anybody going to run out of gas?
Oh, man, you know what? I mean, with the way these guys are going and the speed that they can achieve out there, oh man,
now,
John, you know what? I'm gonna say no. I think we're gonna be all right.
How about this? You think anyone's going to pop the scales? Because they may have planned to have a gallon or two left, and then, you know, we're talking, you know, there's zero variance on the scales. What you weigh is what you weigh.
That's
Gallon
right.
of gas weighs 7 pounds.
That's right.
Let's say you burn 3 more than you intended, or 2 more.
Well, so John,
14
I'll go with
pounds.
my official prediction is that we're gonna not have anyone run out of gas, but I think that we probably will have a car or two come through there underweight. What do you think?
Lights out on the pace car through the pines. I think we're going to be one and done, folks. Now this is going to be something to watch. Holy moly. All those gaps gone, all these guys knowing that they got 1 lap to get it done.
I swear, folks, this is not scripted.
Yeah, we couldn't have scripted this one better, folks.
Yeah, this is really a nail biter.
All right.
Everybody. It's coming down to the wire. Looks like our pace car is just about to pit, and you'll see the cars come out onto the screen here under the Verizon Bridge, looking for a green flag.
Green, 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 the octagon, it's green and white.
That's right, green and white at the same time. So let me know.
So the octagon is open for business. 10 Miatas
See
enter. Oh
some
boy, look at
passes
this.
being made already.
Holy mama. Woo, look at this, folks. 3 wide. Let's see if we go 4 wide. Come on, guys. Look at that. 1 and done. Oh, some big moves. Wow. Some crazy moves through the field. But again, 1 and done. And you know what? Mazda and Toyo both pay deep into a big field like this. So the difference between one position, if you're in the top 10, could be a lot of money. So there's a reason to charge hard. Even if you're not going to win, you're still going to get some bucks. Maybe pay for your tow home. Maybe, you know, instead of the Jelly of the Month Club, maybe, you know, a nice swimming pool or something like that.
Well, you know, Toyo and Mazda alike putting in some really serious prizes and contingencies for these guys and some big incentives to have them do well. So a big thanks to those guys for being a part of this. As always, we do love our sponsors.
Leaders through the bus stop still look clean. Oh, we saw a big pass out the outside of the bus stop a little bit further back in the field. Jiminy Christmas, passing on the outside there. That's not messing around. Now where the action Jackson is going to happen, folks, is they come through the boot, through the pines, and then we're going to watch to see how this one... I tell you what, you paid for the whole seat, you're only using the edge today.
Only the edge. Well, we don't have a announcer booth camera going right now, but I'll let you guys know I'm so excited I'm not even in my seat anymore.
Nope, definitely.
Standing room only in here.
Standing room only. We're going to be standing for the start here, watching for the leaders to come through the boot and through the pines down to the front straight. I'll give you a heads up when they come into our view. This is going to be a thrilla in Manila right here to the end of time. Wow.
And currently 47 minutes to lapse, John, so these guys are they're running on borrowed time here,
fumes.
literally.
They are on fumes. Here they come, leaders through the pines. About 10 seconds before they come into view. We'll see who's going to take it home in Spec Miata. Looks like that's still Casera out front of Haldeman. Front pack is right there, coming into your view now down the Verizon Bridge.
Is Haldeman going to make
Here
a
they
move?
come. Oh, Casera's going to take it. Look at that. Look at that. What a race, ladies and gentlemen. Woo. Woo. Jeez, I'm tired just from watching, man.
That was an incredible race, everyone. So
Wow.
as they come across the line here,
And top lap time still belongs to Tyler Casera with that 2:15.078. But listen, folks, we may have a little bit of controversy because we were talking about that pass that might have happened under yellow when Stain went around McAllen. We'll have to see if that results in any paper flying up in the officials' booth. And, you know, of course, they're headed to the tech shed now. So congratulations. Hey, really congratulations and thanks to all of our Spec Miata racers putting on a great show for us. You know, that was green flag racing for the most part. One small part where we weren't green, but right at the right time where it was going to be good and exciting. So we'll listen up and see if everybody makes it around still under their own power. That would be pretty awesome. You run out right after the checker. Whew. All right, folks. Well, that was some excitement. We will give you the final finishing order here. Jeff, lead us off.
All right, John. Well, after an exciting race out there, like you said, Tyler Casera taking the win and top time of the day with a 2:15.078. Chris Haldeman in second place, Danny Stain in third, and Trevor McCallion in fourth. Now remember, if there's a shakeup there, that is for the final podium spot, so that's definitely going to be a weighing on their minds heavily. Danny Stain and Trevor McCallion. In fifth place, Rally Rookie. Sixth place, Andrew Von Charbonneau. Seventh place, Todd Burris. In eighth place, Michael Ross after gaining 14 positions. Ninth place, Preston Pardis. 10th place, Mark Drennan. 11th place, our definite hard charger of the event, 19 positions gained by Ryan Fisher, 11th place. Spencer Patterson in 12th, Jonathan Miller 13th, Jason Knoll 14th, 15th, Mark Gibbons, 16th, Stephen Zhu, 17th, Brian Cates, Daniel Williams in 18th, 19th is Brian Tone, and in 20th place, Lance Bergstein.
Picking up at P21, George Close Jr., then John Wexler, Keith Williamson, Adam Coley up next, then Whitfield Gregg, Ken Wilkinson, Carter J. White, Mike Rossini up 12 positions from his original start. Well done there. Scott Denowitz next, then Xavier Calderon. We like to call him Javier just for fun. Toby Linder, then Mark Cefalo, Michael Globes, Sarah Hankinson, Jimmy Myers, Jason Walsh, Michael Lamina, Brian Henderson, Tony Sinise, Vaughn Duarte, and Zhang Li finishes out our field. Again, congratulations to these racers. Quite a show for the first race there, Jeff.